This is Baltimore. I've lived here about 4 years. Wouldn't change it. Lately, you may have come to think of this as Baltimore as well.
Como nos tienen aquí. Mire qué migración que nos tienen.
DHS, this is also Baltimore, Maryland, Williamsport, home to about 2,000 people, 90 miles or so west of Baltimore, where they have bought this enormous unused warehouse that they'd like to turn into a colossal and dangerous, nearly unplanned ICE detention facility. And all of this is Baltimore because it's part of the Baltimore field office, like the entire state of Maryland. My friend Brandon is going to give us a tour.
This building is much, much bigger than you'd think, and check it out. We have ourselves a fleet of brand new GSAs.
Look at all these vehicles. This is a much bigger building than it looks like, and on paper I know they said 1,500 beds, but you've got to be shitting me if you think that they're only going to house 1,500 people here, because this building is probably big enough to hold 15 to 20,000 people if you were like thinking like they do, where they don't care about conditions and stuff like that. So,
of course, I wanted to check it out for myself before operations really went into full swing. But this past weekend, it became clear DHS was moving much more quickly and might be staffing up very shortly. So I moved up a podcast recording with my friend Claire from Hagerstown Rapid Response and met in front of the building late on a Saturday night, as you do. Matter of hours, we expect that this parking lot is going to be full here outside of Hagerstown, Maryland, in Williamsport, Maryland. You'll recall this is the first warehouse that the federal government, DHS, bought outright, hoping to control what they'd be able to do there better than if they were leasing this space. But to give us a little perspective from a local, we're going to talk to my friend Claire. Come on over, Claire. I know. Right here in the middle of the night. It's very hocus pocus. Just fun gals on a Saturday night.
Not
Girls,
where I expected to be.
Girls just want to have fun. Claire, tell us whatever you're comfortable telling us about you and whomever you're doing stuff with.
I am affiliated with Hagerstown Rapid Response. We're a fairly new grassroots organization. We're building a coalition here in the local community, primarily to report ICE sightings, knowing that there is going to be an increased presence with the prospect, which is now more than a prospect, it seems to be very actively happening. Now more than ever, we need our people to get together and have our eyes open and let each other know what's going on so that we can keep each other safe.
People keep calling this the Hagerstown warehouse, but you're local and you know this isn't even Hagerstown, which is a small city. This is Williamsport, which is a very small town. We just came over some really small roads to get here. Tell people what it's like back here in this little nook of Williamsport and why this is going to have such a dramatic effect on this community. If an enormous detention center, if an enormous concentration camp is housed here, especially with so little planning.
Certainly. The town of Williamsport, it is very small. I think in this area we have about a population of 2,000. And with the proposed population of this facility being 1,500, we will be nearly doubling the population in this region. I don't have confidence that the facilities as they stand can support those increases.
Let's talk about even the boring nuts and bolts stuff. What's that?
There's a car.
Okay, well, there's a car.
I just want you to be
We're going to get in our cars right now.
That's a good idea.
We're going to get in our cars right now real quick. Maybe in the same car.
My car is 1,000% the same.
We're going to do the rest of this in here. So that was the second time the man came by. Hold on, let me find my mic because I think we're sitting on it.
It's possible.
Hold on a second. Okay, well, that truck has come by a couple of times. So we decided to do the rest of this from the car. And anyway, we were talking about the nuts and bolts. It's not as if they have plumbing facilities. There's like one bathroom in that place. It's not as if they've done groundwater studies. It's not as if they've done floodplain studies, right? There's all of that part of it. But explain it just like the getting in and out of here, the kind of conditions or the lack of conditions that we know so far about this warehouse. Sorry, I'm still a little weirded out by the truck going by again.
No,
so.
I understand completely. So this is actually, it's an interesting area. It's kind of an industrial area overall. You've got lots of larger warehouse industrial buildings, smokestacks and things
There's a paper company around the bend, about a mile, half mile.
And sign
There's
creation.
a Walmart warehouse,
all sorts of things of that nature. This is for industry, it's for commerce. So taking this huge facility and turning it into a detention center, it's a drain for the economy. You're losing the economic opportunity there. In addition to inviting what I would call domestic terrorists into our neighborhood. So there is absolutely that concern. This facility, although it's really tucked away, we're in kind of like a wooded, off the beaten path
little too
area.
tucked away for my taste. If a truck comes by a second or third time and there's not a second way out.
It is a weird little back road.
I feel like that is not an accident, by the way, because you go straight that way. You can turn around a little cul-de-sac. On the other side, there's a railroad track. There is one way in and out of here.
Yep. And at the same time, though, bizarrely, it's very well positioned for moving things in and out. I-70 is seconds away, as well as I-81. And if you hop on I-81, you're within 10-15 minutes of the Hagerstown Airport. So that is also greatly concerning, in addition to the railroad track that runs right behind the warehouse.
And the image, I don't even have to spell this out, but the image of a railroad track pulling up to a detention center should remind everyone about what we're really dealing with here. And as the experts at Project Saltbox told me in an interview last week, this is the definition of a concentration camp. You are concentrating people together in order to get rid of them, incarcerate them, move them on elsewhere as quickly as possible. And so that gives me pause every time I think about this railroad track running immediately behind this enormous warehouse. One of the reasons we came out to check this out tonight, besides that we're fun Saturday night go out girls, is that, as has been reported, we expect there to be a caravan, we'll call it 100 or more ICE vehicles showing up here. We've already seen vehicles being moved around Baltimore earlier this week. Baltimore region, that means all of Maryland. But you're here, you're literally right here. I mean, I live an hour and 20 or 30 minutes from here. For you and your organization, your people who live right here, what does it mean to you that a caravan of 100 or so ICE vehicles is traveling across the country to come to exactly where we are sitting right now and probably should leave soon?
Thank you for adding a humorous twist.
It's funniest when I'm angry or feeling dark. So if I'm happy, I am not funny at all.
It's highly concerning, and that doesn't even begin to scrape the surface. Quite frankly, I want to say that it gives the perception that we're about to be under siege. And I'm extremely concerned about the mass exodus of ICE and their equipment to this facility, which is actively being disputed by the Attorney General.
It feels as if, to me, that they are trying to get asses in seats, so to speak, as quickly as possible. Squatters' rights. Hey, I went to law school. They're trying to get squatters' rights over here before the case can be heard. Like as if, no, we're already here, so now you can't do anything.
I would absolutely agree. There have been so many questions that have still yet to be answered, at least have from our local officials been either evaded or told we don't have the answers yet. We just don't know. And yet we have DHS ICE moving in actively. Coming. Within the next 24 hours is what we're hearing.
If you would not mind taking a moment, as long as our friends don't come back, to explain what it's like trying to deal with the Washington County Board of Commissioners. What is it like in a meeting there where you try to address your concerns or make comments about something that might be going on in the community?
It's literally impossible, quite literally impossible. There is no time designated for public comment, even though the public
at any meeting, correct? Ever.
Any meeting ever.
County commissioners elected by the people are not allowing, not just this month, last month, allowing public comment of any kind.
To be clear, this has happened within about the last year. There was series of incidents which led to them saying, never more will we take public comment. There's nuance there.
Okay.
I will leave that out. However,
were you intimately involved with the nuance? Or
no.
Okay. I mean, just check it.
No, to be clear, I was not.
Okay.
I am aware of it, though.
Okay.
But ever since they have said, this is fine to do because you can still call and email us.
How's that going?
It's not going. I have tried so many times. It's hard to get through in the first place, and when you do, it's the same evasions.
You're not getting any answers.
There's absolutely no answers.
If you actually talk to a human, you're still not getting any answers.
Absolutely. It's diversions every step of the way, and also it's just clear that the things in the sparse discourse that I've had with county officials, they are not interested in appealing to the public. It seems like their mind is made up.
Speaking of the county commissioners, there was, until very recently, within the last 48 hours or so, 72 hours,
On the 24th?
there was a county commissioner named Derek Harvey, who used to be in the first Trump administration. I believe Derek Harvey was an advisor, senior advisor to the National Security Council for the president, working in the White House, among other fun resume details. And he was on this commission, and he hasn't been at a meeting for a couple of months, since late December. And then he just resigned, in part saying that he was going to take economic opportunities that were more in the interest of his family. So I am a suspicious girl. This whole last year or so has only made me more so. Call me red-pilled if you want to. But does anyone have any clue about whether this new economic activity or opportunity has anything to do with these warehouses? This warehouse, I think, was bought for over $104 million before retrofitting of any kind. On the open market, its value, we are told, is much, 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 much less. These companies are making bank. And this seems like somebody who might know how to get a warehouse through a county council across the country somewhere. Am I being ridiculous? This is the most biased question of all time.
I think another thing.
I don't even know if anyone heard me because of the. You know what? I'm loud. They heard.
I think an important thing to note here too is that as a county commissioner in Washington County, and probably most places, you have to give financial disclosure statements.
Mm-hmm.
He failed to do so this January when it was due, and he got slapped on the wrist with a fine.
Was it a $104 million fine? Less than that? It was less than that.
It was less than that.
Okay.
I think it was 1,000.
Oh, I bet he can afford it.
And it's weird how that works. It's weird how, like, you know, well, it's no skin off my back to just drop 1,000 to not have to disclose all the dirty work I'm doing.
What else should we know? I mean, so we're having good time, gal time. But what are people in the community afraid of? I mean, we've all seen what's been happening in. I don't love that car. I don't love that car. Also, I think it was like a Dodge Charger. So I don't know, but I feel like that's what they would drive.
Where's he going?
They keep turning into that street. It's not really a street.
It's not a street.
I know.
There's no street.
I know, but that's the second car I've seen turn on that turn off.
All right.
We're gonna drive down there and back.
Anyways.
So what else? What are people in your? I mean, we've seen what's happened outside of the institution outside of Chicago, or we've not seen at Dilley in Texas. We have heard everything about what's going on at Willett in Minneapolis. The fact that we know the names of these places is fucked up. What are people afraid of besides those cars going down that road that's not a road?
There's so much concern in the community that people are going to be detained, that they will be detained wrongfully, and that they could be detained just for having opposing opinions, just to be a protester.
We all know.
And it brings an inherent risk at this point in time. When you're talking about bringing in 100 fleet, I have to assume that corresponds with personnel, and to know that they will be more actively roving the community.
And that's just first wave stuff.
Precisely.
We've heard of heavy up of 100 or more officers in Baltimore in the downtown annex. as well as them taking over a second floor. You guys will remember the Fallon building had a bit of a viral video 2.5 weeks ago showing the despicable conditions in there, in allegedly, temporary holding cells that were not temporary. People had been there for several days, and we are told people who have worked there have said it was much worse than the video. So we are expecting this statewide, and it's just interesting to me that they are rushing like hell to get these vehicles over here from Minneapolis right after the Attorney General's filed the lawsuit. And also while people are doing things like filing with the ICE Sustainability Office impact statements. One thing that Maryland has in spades are the best kinds of nerds from the military, from the federal government, from everything you can imagine, who know their way around goddamn paperwork. And they know, yeah, hold on. Okay, sorry. See, that guy just went up there. I missed it. That's not my favorite. I'm not in love with this. There's a couple of them now. All right, this is what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that we wrap this up and you get in your car. What do you think about that?
It's not a bad idea.
We're going to finish this on StreamYard tomorrow because we are out here fucking alone. But I kind of want to see what's at the bottom of that street.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. We will obviously be keeping eyes and tabs on this situation. It's looming.
I'm going to take one little circle around. And I did take a circle around, maybe more than one. And I just wanted to show you and confirm that Brandon's description is not an exaggeration. This is a truly enormous, colossal space. But of course, I also realized that Claire and I hadn't gotten to the heart of everything that Hagerstown Rapid Response had been working on. So here's that follow-up. Mistakes were made. Live with Claire from Hagerstown Rapid Response. This is the second part of our interview that we started on Saturday night. We thought it would be interesting to do it outside new detention center that they are putting together out in Williamsport. And whoops, ICE already was there. We did not fully flesh out that interview for a lot of obvious reasons, but we did learn a lot. So now we are coming together here to finish our interview with Claire from Hagerstown Rapid Response. You are watching Catty Chats, Cat Ladies from America. I am your host, Blair Postman. We come out every Tuesday normally on YouTube and everywhere else, except that we had to delay a little bit of our taping because of a small accidental run-on with some ICE agents who were in Williamsport, Maryland, a little sooner than Claire and I had understood that they were going to be there. Hi, Claire. How are you doing?
I am good. Thank you for having me here.
It has been a joy working with you all from Hagerstown Rapid Response. You're a very action-oriented organization, and I have a bunch of questions for you, but I wonder if you can tell folks what has brought us to this point. Where are we, and what is going on in Williamsport, Maryland, just outside Hagerstown?
Sure. Within the last 2-ish months, the public became aware of the potential of an ICE detention center moving into what has been a vacant warehouse in our community. And so that has led to a lot of concern that community is potentially going to be endangered. And then additionally, we've not really been given an opportunity as a community just to speak on the topic with any of our officials. We've been evaded at all costs. So there's a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion, a lot of unanswered questions. We are at the point where we're starting to see ICE activity at the facility, and that's a growing concern.
Give context, it's about 90 minutes north of DC. It's about 90 minutes west of Baltimore, where I live. What is new in the last week, maybe even less than a week, over at Williamsport?
Up until this last week, it has still remained empty. There have been cones to prevent traffic from going into the parking lot at the facility, but we really hadn't seen any people patrolling the property until our visit on Saturday night, when we thought we'd scope things out and saw some vehicles and some people. And since then, it seems consistent that there are people present at the facility and seem to be guarding it to some extent.
If I can add a little bit of color from what I know from a lot of different sources around Baltimore and the state of Maryland and the work that you all are doing. In the last week or so, we have established that there's been a contract where DHS has ordered hundreds of thousands of MREs to be used as soon as this month, possibly this week, maybe today. We don't really know. We have been told that ICE has taken on a second floor in the Fallon building in downtown Baltimore. And we have seen an entire of new vehicles, 53 new vehicles parked at the Williamsport facility where you are in Maryland, where we were on Saturday night. They showed up just a handful of hours after we left. And in addition, we are told, and I do not know if they have arrived or not, that about 100 ICE vehicles would be coming in from Minneapolis. Coincidentally, today I saw that about 100 new SUVs have just shown up at that facility at Willett in Minneapolis. So for everyone who isn't sure, they have not left Minneapolis. And that is a story for a different day, but I would like to reiterate that they haven't gone anywhere, and those people are still under extreme oppression and dire circumstances. So our hearts go out to them and our wallets and our help. When we have all this confluence of events in the last few weeks, and then you and your team have been uncovering a lot of information in the last few weeks about whether or not, for example, when the officials at DHS had started planning this, and when perhaps the Washington County Board knew about it and what they have and have not done to stop it. I'd like to start with this. Are Washington County officials lying to its citizens?
I think that for me personally, the most egregious thing is simply the lack of transparency. There has been a concerted effort to conceal information, to not share it willingly, to exclude public opinion from any of what's transpiring.
For example, nobody is allowed to speak at the board meetings. Right. That's been that way for a year. There's no time or there's no allowance for public comment on anything. And tell me some of the things that you have encountered that they have not been transparent about, the board itself.
For me, my first public awareness of this respective facility was around the holidays in December of 2025. There was a Washington Post article that called out ICE for purchasing mega warehouses around the nation for this explicit purpose. Our state delegate, Matthew Schindler, very promptly put out a response and said, I do not approve of this. I am astounded that this is coming out, and we're not going to let this happen. Within a couple days, April McLean Delaney had also made a statement. If a member of the public, just from surfing on Facebook, am able to get this information and start mulling it, it's hard for me to believe that my county commissioners don't have an idea that this is a thing. I just don't.
I've seen some evidence, I've heard some rumors, we'll say, of knowledge of this deal possibly either being in the works or about to be taking place, perhaps much earlier than this. Is there an example you could give us of a piece of evidence that makes folks wonder, what did the county board know? When did they know it?
Some of our investigators have discovered discussion on the interwebs about ICE potentially utilizing warehouses as detention center. And that comment was made explicitly about the city of Hagerstown. It was made in a public channel that's a local channel for the community to chat.
And just for context, the commission for the county is entirely Republican. One of the people on the board used to be in the first administration an advisor on the Security Council for Donald Trump in the White House. He has just resigned after not appearing for 2 or so months at any of the meetings and left saying that he was going to leave for better economic opportunities for his family, which is incredibly suspicious. And he left the day before he would have to file his financial disclosures for the past year. Also very suspicious. By the way, Derek Harvey, go ahead, look him up. We have this public statement, and also they are using a new tool to do contracting with, that essentially a new contract will be in this expedited system. The paperwork about it, which is the disclosure about it, may not come out for 90 days after it happens. And it seemed as if maybe there were some details, some preparations, some permits going on through that system back in the fall. Is this correct?
As I understand it, that's precisely what's going on. They are using an alternative procurement system that is allowing them to pre-qualify vendors for these projects, which would seem to suggest that these plans were in the pipeline long before we found out about it.
So let's slip over a little bit and talk about how we think the DHS might be lying to not just the citizens of Williamsport and Hagerstown and Washington County, but all of Maryland. When they were purchasing this warehouse, they put out some letters that said, we did all the assessments of everything: the roads, the infrastructure, the plumbing, the electrical, any historical considerations, anything environmental, anything that anyone could possibly complain about. And we already did all those assessments, and we're fine. It turns out there's no problems of any kind for putting a 1,500 bed, and we'll get to that, a 1,500 bed facility here in this very tiny corner. And so they're telling us that everything is fine and everything's ready to go and everything's up to snuff and it meets all the standards, historical conservation, roads, floodplains, everything's fine. Is everything fine? Have they told us everything that we need to know?
In my opinion, no, they've not even scraped the surface. Withholding the information as long as they did, there was a reason for that. It's my feeling that they wanted to get as much done under the rug as they possibly could. It does just cut up to seem that way. It's my understanding that the tour of the facility to assess those things was dated for the same day that their letter announcing everything was fine was dated and sent.
It feels like that does not leave a lot of time for analysis or deep assessment. It seems like checking all of that out in one day, the same day that you sign the letter that everything is fine, doesn't seem realistic. We know that there is a lawsuit that's been filed in federal court by the state of Maryland, having to do with environmental impact, having to do with the infrastructure impact, having to do with any number of things that are going to be detrimental to the community if they're not done correctly. And we also know that there is a comment period open until this Thursday for people to complain. And we have a link in our bio to that. And yet it seems like they're trying to do almost like a squatters' rights thing. It seems like that there's activity going on to get this place ready very quickly, even though right now they do not officially sort of have a clear path ahead of them to go. And they're spending our tax dollars. Is that correct? And if so, what are some of the things that they're working on that makes it seem as if they are speeding ahead before they've really got a clear road ahead of them?
Sure. I mean, to your point, by just completely avoiding the state government in any of this process, any of the agreements, not getting their subject matter experts and professionals to weigh in.
Sketchy.
Absolutely. There are many agencies that I'm sure could potentially take interest up to and including archaeological interest.
You were at a protest this very morning at the board where you were told you were not allowed to tell people out loud that they sucked by a police officer, which I didn't realize that was a law. And I was a First Amendment attorney a million years ago. And it really hasn't changed that much since I was a First Amendment attorney. So I feel like you actually are allowed to tell people that they suck, assuming that you're not doing it in a way that is life-threatening somehow. So Claire has been putting in enormous hours, and also she doesn't stick her face on the internet all the time like some of us idiots like myself. So I realize this is outside the purview of your normally what you do, and you're really trying to tell us everything here that is important. So I'm leading you in a lot of different ways. But if there is something about the speed and the rapidity with which they are doing this work that concerns you as a citizen of the area.
Just to be here, I think one of the larger concerns for myself, and then also I would tend to think anyone in the community, regardless of your political affiliations, what costs will be assumed by the community here? If you need to increase freshwater capacity 2 times over, who pays for those upgrades? Ultimately, if it's my tax dollars, then I can probably expect an increase in taxes. There's, with the money fiscal component, the fact that we've lost approximately $700,000 in property tax revenue due to the transfer of the warehouse property from private hands to federal ownership. There used to be property tax paid on that property for a hefty sum. They were one of the top 15 contributors of property tax
Wow.
revenue for our county, and now
Wow.
they're just gone.
Wow. And how's that going to be replaced?
I have this sneaking suspicion that it's lining someone's pocket somewhere.
What is the activity you've seen there? What kind of timeline are you looking at, or as of today, because it seems to be shifting quickly, as of today, for them to be, I get asked a lot, what are they operational? Are there people there yet? That sort of thing. I don't know if you guys have any sort of specific insight or educated guesses about that.
Sure. From what I know and understand, there are no detainees in the warehouse, and there simply should not be. It does seem that there's personnel coming and going. A lot of people, I think, are pretty optimistic in saying, well, so many upgrades need to be done. Plumbing capacity, the fresh water, putting in industrial kitchens and medical facilities. That's where I'm maybe a little more skeptical. And will all of those things really be prioritized before they start housing people here? I just, on a personal level, on a gut level, have very grave concerns about that it already seems like they're jumping the gun with everything else. They want this place operational. So
for
whatever
example,
it takes.
Alligator Alcatraz, which, by the way, everyone, is still open. They like to pretend these actions are closed down or these places are being downgraded, and they're just not. They were putting porta potties out there. I've heard some talk and some evidence that people are like, they're not necessarily tapping into the water lines. They think they're just going to put porta potties out there for 1,500 people. Have you heard talk of that?
I have heard that is a methodology that they're considering. I don't know that I've heard it specifically for the Hagerstown facility, but I have heard in their planning documents that is something that had been discussed.
There's some people within the administration who think that that's a fine solution. It's something that is but I'm saying it's under consideration.
Sure.
We're trying to get people activated. What actions are you guys taking? What actions are you asking the community to take? What gives you hope? What are the day-to-day on the ground things that you and the teams of people that you're working with are doing?
Sure. It does encompass a lot. At the core of our mission is supporting our community, keeping people safe. So establishing the network on Signal for us to communicate, and particularly communicate confirmed ICE sightings, and just maintaining awareness of what's happening around us. Are people getting detained, and is there a reason for them to be detained, and just collecting information to try to figure out what is actually going on. But beyond that, if you're looking to get involved, there are many things beyond going to rallies. We do have rallies, and for the foreseeable future, as long as the Board of County Commissioners is having a meeting, we will have a corresponding rally outside of their building. But if maybe that's not your thing, we have an active petition. It's called Stop the ICE Detention Center in Hagerstown. It's on change.org. You can probably just find it on change.org, type in Hagerstown.
We'll have that link in our bio.
In addition to that, the other link in bio that you mentioned, that is critically important. And in fact, if I can maybe bump that up to a higher priority,
please.
I would say that getting as many emails in the inbox of the Department of Homeland Security to express disapproval is important.
I don't think anybody watching this, or you and I, think that, oh no, Claire and Blair, which by the way, like, adorable, Claire and Claire somewhere in Maryland are disappointed in our choices. And so now we're going to stop. No one thinks that. And as I have said online, this is not the only thing we're doing. This is not the sexiest thing we're doing at all. But it is a necessary thing. And my understanding, one of the things that is in at least the click and send that is in that you can find the link for in our bio, that we've had hundreds and hundreds of people fill out ours. There's other organizations doing similar email sending, is that we're trying to create this paper trail, right? That there actually was opposition, that there is actually a lack of transparency, and that there have been mistakes and inaccuracies or lack of information given in all the different assessments and studies about things like floodplains and impact on sewer systems and other infrastructure that haven't been revealed, that you actually can't just close this comment period, this administrative this is very boring sounding, but it's a thing. And when you're leaving a paper trail like that, showing not just the opposition, but the insistence by people who are citizens and impacted that they did not do the assessment correctly. They have not given us all the information that you're supposed to give in order to then run out the public comment period. And this is the kind of paper trail that might give lawyers or our attorney general or an administrative law judge a reason to pause activity because they are rushing around doing a lot of upgrades and work around. They seem to have put up maybe some fencing and some other things up at this facility. If we can get somebody, a court, administrative law judge, to slow this down, and all of these emails insisting that we did not get the information we're supposed to get, slowing them down is our friend.
Completely.
And not just because of the midterms, for a lot of reasons, but slowing them down and making things a big pain in the ass. And if there is anything I know deep in my heart that gives me hope about this particular issue in Maryland, is that Maryland is home to more current and former federal workers, military, every kind of paperwork nerd related to the federal government that you could imagine. And we have the precise skill set needed to make ourselves a huge pain in the ass in the right way. So that is why when you're talking about raising this up in importance, part of it is knowing that, expressing our opinion, but it's not because we think that in and of itself is going to change things.
And they are, quote unquote, supposed to review all the comments. And that's, to your point, throwing a wrench in things, making things have to draw out a little bit longer, poking the holes, asking the questions. Anywhere things don't add up, ask for the receipts.
Everybody has limited resources, even authoritarians. If people are starting to get in your way with paperwork or just making you answer a lot of more questions in the press or whatever, or get yelled at a press conference, it just takes that much more time away than you would imagine. If you're trying to do all of this stuff for your authoritarianism, so the more of us that can put in paperwork they have to review, to leave a paper trail that's going to enable more, better, stronger lawsuits, etc., all of this stuff, make it more difficult, calling up the contractors in the area and saying, look, guys, I really like your plumbing work, but if you go do work over there, I'm never using you again. All of that stuff, making it harder because companies decide it's not in their best interest to want, for a lot of different reasons, to work with them, help them outfit the place. It's not that they can't get it anywhere else or they can't get the help anywhere else. It's just making it more difficult. And these guys do not have a deep bench. They have Doge fired so many people. Many of them now have free time right here in Maryland. And they have a lot of inexperienced people who do not know how the things work. So everything we can do to slow them down is important and necessary. Sorry, that was just a speech by me. That was not a question. It was just me going on the rant that's inside my head at all times. What can people do, Claire? 2 more questions, and then I will let you go live your life, which is really helping the people of Maryland. What is it that people should know about that I was not smart enough to ask you about already? Even if it's just what you want them to know about where you live and what it's like there.
Sure. Up until recently, I have, lifelong pretty much lived in Washington County. And up until recently, it's been a place that I had a lot of pride in and love for. And my ancestry is rooted here. So there's a lot of things for me to really care about. And yet I feel so disappointed right now in definitely our leaders because they're not being leaders. They just are not. And unfortunately, at large, even within the community, you see people who are just driven to be hateful. And it's unfortunate that this time is as difficult and sad and trying as it is. And what I will say, the silver lining to it all is through rapid response, through getting together in a network, it's been so rejuvenating. It's been reassuring for me personally to know that I'm not totally crazy.
You have a community of people. You go, oh, there's other people like me here too. Because I think people think of Maryland as this blue state and it's super deep blue. That's not the truth. Like most states, that's not the truth everywhere. In Baltimore, maybe, where I live, but out where you are, you're getting towards West Virginia. It's very different. It's beautiful out there. It's a lovely town and Hagerstown, great. But it is not like you necessarily knew that there were all these people who agreed with you.
I'll be honest, growing up in this area, it's very red, and that's okay. It's just become something that drives a lot more division anymore. So that's the unfortunate part. You have a lot more just people wanting to contend. And largely what we try to do is give people support systems, resources outside of just the moral support for any sort of life need.
Well, I know
Self-care is
you
huge
guys,
right now.
I know that you all are trying to protect your neighbors by doing the ice watches that many people have seen in other communities. Is there anything else that you're doing? Any kind of mutual aid? And how could people help? Is there a place people could go if they wanted to donate money or help deliver food or anything along those lines? Or is that something you're in the process of putting together?
I know that Food Not Bombs is one that we have been working with here locally. And another very kind partner is Eliza's House. They are a fairly new organization. They're a nonprofit. They have support system for unhoused individuals. And we really love working with them. They have a food pantry. We have lots of food pantries in the area, actually. We can hook you up with those resources if you want to reach out to us. Our website,
eacwc.org, is where in general they would get connected with you, whether they want to do the train up for the ice watches, whether they want to be involved in the research that you guys do, whether they want to be involved in helping with mutual aid. It would be eacwc.org. And again, I'm going to put that in the link tree in our bio. Is there anything else that we should know, or just that gives you hope?
This community here gives me hope. You inviting me here to just chat a little bit is a really wonderful opportunity. I appreciate everyone tuning in to just hear a little bit about what's going on here. I will admit that it has been a genuinely scary time. I've never operated on a day-to-day basis the way I do at the moment, which is just very high alert. And
you're like a naturally chill person normally.
I really do tend to be. I'm a nature girl. I like to go out and hike and spend time with my animals, and I'm usually pretty introverted.
I know, that's why I know I made you come and do this, and I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry.
No, it has been a pleasure. You are a joy. And this entire group has been,
there's a lot of great people.
I'll say, life-changing. I think that these are connections that I will have for the rest of my days. So
Same.
I'm very fortunate.
Same. And we're new best friends. We had a couple of scary moments by accident on Saturday night. That's why we're new best friends. Well, everybody, so if you would, a couple of things, couple of takeaways. This eacwc.org is sort of the clearinghouse website. So every part of this that you might want to get involved with out in the Hagerstown, Maryland area, that's the main city. The detention center, or would-be detention center, we're hoping we can block it still, is in Williamsport, which is an incredibly small town of 2,000 people. They're looking to put 1,500 beds. I have seen this place up close. I know that there's thoughts that they're going to put equipment and other things there, but oh my God, I can't. It looks like it could hold 10 times more than that people easily. So we're all very concerned. And also, that is just one of the expansion hubs in Maryland that they call the entire state of Maryland, the Baltimore district or Baltimore area. And it means that just anything in the surrounding area in Maryland, or even we're close to West Virginia in that part of the world, and in Virginia and Pennsylvania, if this all comes to fruition, there's going to be a hugely heightened presence of ICE in all sorts of parts of Maryland, but also in parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and even parts of Virginia that all come in and connect near there. And so it's just, please, if you don't live in the area, but if you want to help somehow spread the word, you can always spread social media posts about it. But also if you go to eacwc.org, you can donate to Eliza's House or some of the other nonprofits that are going to be helping our neighbors who are maybe not going, as we've seen in Minneapolis, as we've seen in Chicago, as unfortunately we've seen in many other areas, maybe not going to be able to leave their house for several days, maybe not going to be able to work regularly, even if they are here legally, even if they are citizens. We know that citizens have gotten snatched up off the street with no warrant, no nothing, with no plan, even when they said they were citizens and had ID, and were put away for days or weeks or more. And so a lot of those people are not going to feel safe reasonably to leave their house, to work, to go get food, to get medical care, whatever it is. And so if you go to eacwc.org, there's going to be a lot of information there, depending on where you are and what you're able to do, how you're able to help. In addition to that, link in the bio here about the change.org petition, and also the letter to complain and make yourself a huge pain in the ass. Be the pain in the ass you want to see in the world. They want to make it feel like you can't shut it down now, but always know that they're full of shit. Please know every day the DHS on every level, and I think more Americans realize this than they did 2 months ago, on every level is full of shit. Always assume they're full of shit unless you explicitly otherwise. So anyway, Claire, thank you so much. I'm going to be seeing you soon. And I really am looking forward to a time where you could get back to just being out in the mountains out there with your animals. Maybe you'll bring me. I can hike. I know I'm from New Jersey, but I could do something. I don't know.
Real quick.
You could be like your chill, your naturally chill introvert self with your animals again and not have to do this kind of shit. That is my dream for you. That is my dream for
It's
you.
out
But
there.
then we would have never
It'll
met.
happen.
It will happen.
Like I said, silver linings. It's truly a pleasure.
Every video interview with claws out. So I do 1, 2, 3, little meow, claws out, and then meow. I think you're gonna nail this. 1, 2, 3, claws out, meow. Get in your fucking car. Let's get the hell out of here.